very much for that intro. I just might share the screen with you all. So, as you mentioned, I'm the managing director of and one of the partners of Mazzcorp Partners. We're an accounting and advisory firm, and yes, we are absolutely very passionate about helping our clients achieve their goals and objectives. And I guess what's very relevant, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Parramatta Chamber of Commerce, the members, and also those that are tuning in this morning, and also employ Shaw and Dominic and Gwen for the opportunity to co-present with them this morning. So, I might just take the opportunity in terms of segueing from what Gwen and Dominic had to say. We up until say 6 months ago, just when COVID-19 started, we were basically providing our clients HR and IR advice internally. And part of what we'll chat through this is looking at part of assessing our business and working out what services we do decide to bring in-house, and which of those that from a level of expertise that we need to outsource. And we've found during that journey and that transition, as you've seen through the content today of what Gwen and Dominic have presented, it's top shelf. And we've found that the value for us is being able to have that strategic alliance partnership where they develop the contracts and they deal with the fair work and all those industrial and contractual obligations, as Dominic mentioned. And then we're able to have those tools to help our clients manage from a compliance point of view has been absolutely essential in terms of us navigating through COVID-19 and certainly moving forward. And I might just make the point that albeit we provided those services in the past, the truth of the matter is in terms of helping our clients work to a strategic and what we might call a COVID-19 management plan, which has pretty much been the order of the day over the last 6 months. The level of HR and industrial relations inquiry has just been huge. I don't think there's a week gone by, I'd actually say a day that's gone by, that we haven't had a client phoning regarding some advice regarding how they manage their staff, a staff management plan per se, whether it's a redundancy issue, leave issue, whatever it may be. So I think in today's environment, with all the changes, as Dominic mentioned about fair work changes and change in legislation, it's absolutely essential. And I just wanted to note that we've found that the relationship's been invaluable for our clients and for our firm. So I guess what I'd like to move on to today is just really speaking more about the business fundamentals. And in our mind, and certainly from the point of view of what we offer, we're really about trying to help our clients achieve their objectives, as Rosa outlined, their goals and objectives, and from a financial and operational point of view, and obviously coupled with that is lifestyle. And certainly, looking at the challenges through COVID-19. I know it's a word that everyone's sick and tired of mentioning, but unfortunately, it's what's front and centre at the moment. We've basically worked from a point of view of saying, look, we need them to work to clear strategies, irrespective of what's happening out there, and it's a changing landscape on a daily basis. And certainly what's happened in Melbourne and New South Wales and other parts of the country, and the challenges that businesses have, particularly if they have a national presence, and how they manage each state in terms of closure of borders and whatnot, and the do's and don'ts, as Gwen mentioned, about how we manage staff and the I guess the choices that we need to give them with the challenge of COVID-19. The way that we decided to help our clients is not only keep them informed from a compliance point of view, but it really is about helping them design and manage through that process. So in our mind, strategic planning has always been front and center, and it's probably a differentiation in our mind from the companies that do exceptionally well, or the organisations that do and have the success that they achieve when they first establish or make the great idea to go into business, and those that perhaps and once again, it's a personal thing, but those that perhaps don't achieve the heights of success. And from our point of view, our objective in terms of working with our firm and working with the partners and our team is really for the client to turn around in 3, 5, 10 or years time, or over a journey of our relationship, as Rosa mentioned, and basically feel that that's been of value to them. It's to help them achieve their business, and I might even extend that to lifestyle objectives. So I think strategic planning from our point of view is the core, and it's what I'd like to run through today. It's a word, we talk about business plans, we talk about a lot of other tools. What I'd actually like to do today is work through that strategy and the tools that we use, and a primary tool that we use that might guide, I guess, our members in terms of just really understanding how to develop a plan. It's not about doing a business plan and putting that in the top shelf and never looking at it. It's more a being adaptive to the marketplace, assessing where our businesses lie, understanding what our clients need, and understanding how we need to adapt to the current environment and that moving forward. So I guess, look, fundamentally, the most important thing, we all look at, in terms of what's happening at the moment, there's both opportunities and threats. And from our mind, in this type of environment, it's more about focusing on what the opportunities are rather than what the threats are. And from our perspective, it's really looking at it from that point of view. So I'm just having a little bit of trouble trying to here we go. Sorry, guys. Just might get you, sorry, I might take a step back and take the opportunity. The general disclaimer needs to be there. This is financial advice in some way, shape or form. So I'll just skim through that. It's generally nature. I think you've all seen it before, so we'll give that the just desserts that it needs. So, and on the back of our strategic planning and part of that management plan that we've spoken to with our clients, we've termed it the survive, revive and thrive, because in terms of a process of what we've seen that they need to experience, when COVID-19 first started, it was really survival mode. I think businesses didn't know what the challenges were. They didn't know what the economic stimulus package and what government at all levels, federal, state, and even at local level with councils, what that support might be and what the challenges were and how long this was going to go on for. So it was really survival mode, and that came out of the line of questioning that we were receiving from our clients and our engagement with them. And really, it was like, this is a survival mode. And through that process, part of that planning was to take them through a view of how not only do we survive, but how do we revive and how do we thrive? How do we make our businesses better and stronger through an understanding of our clients' needs, an understanding of our markets, understanding of the environment that we operate in order to get them to where they need to be. So the strategic planning process from our point of view has always been relevant, but in particularly in this situation is exceptionally relevant to the way that we help our clients manage where they want to get to. So fundamental to the cause is what we term, and part of our strategic planning process is what we call the now, where and how. Not necessarily in the order that's on the screen. I'll explain why in a moment. The now is really about speaking to the key, where are we now? Speaking to where we currently are. And it's about doing an assessment of both the internal and the external factors at the end of the day that impact on our business. The where is more about, at the end of the day, where do we want to be? Where do we need to be? Where do we need to position our business and our organisations in the future? Whether that's because we need or forced into change because of the change of environment, whether that's we're not happy where we're currently, how we're operating, what our financial metrics are, what we want to achieve, why we came into business. But it's about getting to where we want to be. And the how really is the crux of the strategy and the process in terms of determining what are the key challenges and what strategy and process do we implement in order to get ourselves there. So with that in mind, and speaking a little more, closely to the now, as I mentioned, it's a review of the internal and external processes. And I think for businesses to be able to be adaptive and understand the challenges in the current marketplace, we need to basically increase our level of strategic thinking and strategic planning. And ultimately, it's about understanding a number of facets within our organisation. And the first one is basically just looking at our marketing, our growth strategies, getting a deeper level of customer engagement. It's something that we've certainly encouraged our clients to do. Don't assume you know what the client's after. Understand what the key challenges are. Understand whether what we're providing in service or the product that we provide at the end of the day is achieving their objectives. And I think it's critical at any stage, but in good times we perhaps gloss that over. Certainly in these type of environments, we need to reconnect to what the needs that are clear and present for them currently are. So speaking to that point, we need to look at operations. We need to look at our processes. We need to look at the way that we, that we provide our service, look at inefficiencies, look at the inefficiencies in our process. If there are any inefficiencies in the service that we provide, or we need to retweak it, we need to look at that and improve our processes to get a better outcome per se. The other component is human resources, and this leads obviously directly into the conversation that and the presentation that Gwen and Dominic have presented from EmploySure earlier. So, and what we're looking at is not only the compliance component, but part of that conversation and part of looking at, we look at the HR within our organisation outside of product and IP that an organisation may have. fundamentally, when we speak about assets within an organisation, HR, staffing from our point of view is certainly an asset, particularly in a business as such as ours that is service-based. We are only as strong as our team. So in terms of the way that we look through from the internal review process, it is looking at our, engaging with our staff. It is looking at developing staff management plans. And part of what we're outlining today in this terms of the strategic planning process and the tool that we use, we've actually used efficiently within our organisation and for our clients to develop a staff management plan, to get a level of engagement and understanding what they're looking at achieving, for example, within our firm, and also ultimately how we can use that as a management plan to help develop the leaders within our organisation. So it's an engagement tool. It has a number of different uses. And I think in our conversations with our clients, not all employees have been able to adapt to the circumstances out there. And there's been an obligation, as Gwen and Dominic mentioned, about how we manage them. If an employee didn't want to come into work, you've got to give them that option. There's an obligation, you've got to give them a choice. You need to understand and be sympathetic, like never before in terms of what they may be feeling, because this is an unusual thing. It has a health and a financial and many other burdens that come with it. So as part of that, but we've used the term, and I mean this respectfully, not employees are equal. There's those that do adapt, I guess, to a change in circumstances and what we might term difficult circumstances far more efficiently than other staff members. So as part of the staff management plan, developing the leaders, teaching our team to work as a team, and also rewarding the stars, I guess is the way that we term it. It's really important from our perspective in terms of upscaling our businesses and learning from what we're experiencing. And most importantly, not because we're accountants and financial advisors, but finances. I think, cash is king. It's always been the same, but particularly in this environment, very, very important. And that speaks to doing budgets, even if it's shorter term budgets, as we've suggested. A few clients, particularly coming up to June 30, we need to lock and load our budgets, need to, at the end of the day, speak to our financial metrics. Oh, I don't know what the future is going to hold. So what we said is, okay, you don't need to do a 6-month budget, do a 12-month budget, do a 3-month, do a 6-month. That might deal, for example, with JobKeeper. And when JobKeeper stops in September, that was obviously prior to round 2 coming on board. But the qualification criteria will be different. Not everyone that was eligible or was able to receive JobKeeper, an eligible employer for JobKeeper round 1, will qualify for Job 2. So it will have obviously a financial impact. So doing our budgets, understanding our financial metrics, looking at our KPIs from the sales, marketing, really, really important at the best of times, but certainly in this current environment, absolutely quintessential. So the external review process at the end of the day is more about, I'll go back one step and just sort of say, I guess, fundamentally, the internal review process is really understanding the strengths and weaknesses within our organisation. And that's the crux of it. It's a bit of a SWOT analysis type methodology, but really about the strengths and weaknesses of our organisation. Outside of that, it's the external review process is the other component. And that speaks more to the trends in our marketplace, what our competitors are doing, how they're adapting to changing environment, what we need to do to get that competitive advantage. Whether that's from a new product, redevelopment of product, new service that we offer, whatever it may be, but basically understanding the market. The next thing is obviously political changes, political and legal trends, I might even term that. That obviously has an impact. What the government's doing, we need to be aware of that, need to be aware of our entitlements, what's happening out there. Economic trends, what the environment's doing as a whole, how the economy tracking, what are the challenges we're going to face, and obviously technology. I think we've all found, we mentioned this morning, we're all zoomed out, I think was the general comment. And generally it's about how we can use the general speak about how we can use technology, how within our organisations to make it more efficient, how technology will impact in the future with AI, for example. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be adaptive to it. So they're the issues that we need. And I guess part of that external process is looking more from a SWOT analysis point of view, the opportunities and the threats, as we mentioned before, and developing an attitude that even within the threats, and in change, there are opportunities, and that's what we need to be focused on. We need to change what we're doing in order to get better outcomes. So the next component, and moving down, I'll basically move to the where. And the where is about the big picture thinking. It really happens at an entrepreneurial level, I guess, within an organisation. And we often encourage our clients, particularly those that, for example, work within their organisation. They don't just sit on a board and don't have the day-to-day operations. But it's really understanding that we have 2 roles. for example, in our firm, I'm accountant advisor, and obviously there's a role that I play that anyone in that position would sit in. Equally, the other component is we're entrepreneurs. In other words, we're business owners. We're equity holders within our organisation. And as a result, we want to be rewarded from salary in terms of the role that we play day to day and as an accountant or advisor. And on the other component, as a business owner, we're in business and we're taking the commercial risk at the end of the day to devise strategies, but ultimately we want a return on our investment, whatever that may be. So it is about wearing two hats and being able to be within the planning process and what's currently happening out there, adaptive. And I think the clients that we've seen manage COVID-19 exceptionally well are those that have been able to take and swap those hats and understand that we need to drive change here. We need to be planned and structured, relook at our business models and basically devise the strategy and then implement that within the organisation. So when we speak to the wheres, it's basically creating a vision, and we generally work to a 3-year period. It doesn't have to be. We've just found that's a reasonable period for people to be closely connected to. It's more short term rather than 5 and 10 and beyond. And it's about developing a vision and understanding, in a sense, projecting forward and visualising what does our business need to look like to successfully compete in the marketplace of tomorrow or the future. It also means at the end of the day, we've got to look at our organisation. So what would we change in terms of what our organisation looks like today? What do we need to look at? How can we make it better and so forth? It's, I guess, applying the SMART principles and objectives in understanding that and reassessing our goals from that perspective. And most importantly, measuring that success is key as well. Success to all business owners means, I don't think there's a commonality, but generally it's very specific to each board or whether it's a husband and wife. We work predominantly in the SME market, so obviously our relations might be 2 or 3 board members. Non-related might be a husband and wife, might be a lone wolf, as we might term them. So, but ultimately understanding what success is and measuring that success. So, and I guess we ultimately look at that from a point of view of determining what conditions we currently have, what we need to change in order to achieve our goals and objectives of the future, right? Where we want to ultimately be. And there's a few items that we need to consider there. We need to determine, one, who our target market is. And the key problem, and most importantly, I guess, from a client, what we might term a client value proposition, which is a term that we use within our organisation, quite frankly. It's really looking at that value proposition. And it's about sort of saying, well, what value does our client get from the product or the service that we provide? And we've actually put a little bit of a calculation to it. And we basically say value is equal by benefit minus cost. And the client ultimately holds the key to what they see as value in terms of the service and the product that we provide. We might like to think what we do is valuable, but ultimately, the client dictates that. And the comments that Rosa made in terms of clients that we've made, that we've referred, and if they're happy clients, both the referee and the client, most importantly, are happy, well, then that's how we generate our business and particularly use the pipeline of referral and strategic alliance. So very, very important we look at it from that point of view. But we need to understand at the day who our target market is, as I mentioned, what's our client value proposition? What do we need to change in our service offering or product to bring that level of value? We need to look at our marketing delivery channels. We need to look at our revenue streams and our pricing models. And I guess what you're sort of starting to see here is a theme of absolutely revisiting from an internal and external process every aspect of our business to be able to reassess what the market requires, what the changing environment dictates, and upscaling where we currently sit and working very clearly to a vision and a plan, not just doing it in an ad hoc way, hoping that it's okay. And I'll speak to that point a little later as well. But also, Jen, looking at the key suppliers and partners, looking at the key activities. As I mentioned before, we've made a decision to outsource our HR to EmploySure and the benefits that our clients are receiving and that we as a firm receive through the quality that they provide and the methodology of service. So we need to look at what our key activities are. Are they going to be in-house? Are we best outsourcing? Where's the value lie? Where's the value lying in terms of our firm providing the best level of, I guess, advice to our clients and how do we best source that? Looking at the key resources required. Looking at the key costs and capital required. A lot of times businesses fail, particularly when they need to adapt to change, when they're undercapitalised, when they've not budgeted effectively. So from our point of view, that's vitally important. So the next, and I guess that it speaks to the objective of developing a very, very, very clear picture of where the business wants and needs to be, and connecting our processes to that vision, everything that we do in terms of analysis. So The next component is the how. And this is the critical part. And it's a living culture, if we might put it in that line, about, how do we get there? We've identified where we want to be. We know what our key challenges are, but how are we going to get to where we want to be? And what we try and do is we obviously sit down and we give the client an opportunity. It's a bit of a dumping session, as we might say, but just working through what are all the key challenges? What are the obstacles in our way? Could be staffing, could be we need larger premises. There's a raft of issues. And it's actually quite cathartic to be able to sit down and to give people a voice to be able to express what their concerns. We use the term what keeps you awake at night, for example. What are the things that make you toss and turn? And from that perspective, we come to a point where we say, let's identify those challenges. Let's break it down into 2 or 3 key challenges. Let's look at those that have the greatest impact on the vision, and let's look at those that are the first up actions. In other words, those that we can get some momentum and be able to start to deal with right from the beginning, from the get-go, immediately per se. And the important thing here that we've found, and once again, I guess working back to a teamwork and a framework, it creates a process where we can have a greater level of engagement with our clients, but in particular our team members and our staff, and using the intel in terms of their communication with clients, what they understand from the internal and external aspects of our business, our industry, our organisation, to devise a plan to understand how we navigate through to achieve our objectives. So this process is about, at the end of the day, I guess fundamentally developing a strategy and a detailed action plan and process to deal with the key challenges in order to drive us towards our vision and achieving our top line goals. And the way that we work through this, there's a little bit of a strategy, or not a little bit of strategy, there is a strategy in the way that we work. So I'm downplaying the value of it, but it is simple in nature, because I think most good practices need to have a simplistic, keep it simple, stupid type attitude, KISS process to it. But really it is about accountability. And we've found that it's a commitment. The organisations that achieve their objectives, particularly in times of difficulty that we find ourselves in at the moment, and that's not a negative statement, it's just a realistic statement, is ultimately it's a commitment and focus, and at the end of the day, it's the accountability. It's working to a plan, and that's what we encourage all our clients to do, irrespective whether they're a startup, we're a mature business, whatever they may be, is work clearly to a defined strategy. Let's make the time not only to work in our business, but on our business, on our organisation, to achieve our objectives. So ultimately, looking at a few key elements in terms of rolling it out, we need to learn to prioritise, and particularly in dealing with these key challenges, we need to monitor these milestones and how we work through these key challenges, and we need to, at the end of the day, organise or allocate when we're going to achieve this goal by, and put a time frame. We generally work to 3 months. And constantly monitor that. So if we've got for example, we need to hire a new staff member. Okay, what's the process? What's the time frame with that? And monitor where are we at within that process. And we tend to look at this from a management point of view on a weekly basis, fortnightly and monthly at an absolute minimum. And just monitor. If, for example, the process, it's an 8-week process, 2 weeks into it, what percentage? We actually put a percentage. We're 30% of the way. In other words, of the items that we need to, in terms of the process, achieve that outcome, we believe that we've actioned 3 of the 10 points, so effectively we're 30% of the way. And most importantly, from accountability point of view, allocating a key person within the organisation that takes the responsibility with the team and the support they need to roll that out. And once again, monitor that progress, look at it on a weekly, fortnightly basis. And if there's a roadblock there and we're not achieving objectives, to basically support them, give them the resources that they need to help work that out, whether that's management, whether it's a key staff member, whatever it may be. So it's just working to a very clear, defined strategy and constantly monitoring that. And the advantage, and why I say this is a living culture, is once we get, once those 3 challenges, for example, 2 or 3, or those challenges are worked through, it's then re-looking at our model and where it stands at that moment, and then reassessing what our key challenges are. So it's constantly working to, in 3 years, for example, we want to be here, and just working through a 3-month or 6-month process to constantly revisit what are the obstacles in our way, what's preventing us from getting to our vision, what do we need to basically do, and just consistently working in a strategic way within our organisation, our team, to achieve that objective. So, and I guess procrastination is a word that I must admit I've been very guilty of very early in the piece. And I think most business owners do go for a point of view when we're looking at bringing a new product or service to the market and being adaptive, particularly in the current environment. A lot of our clients have had to change the way that they operate. Their opening hours, as I mentioned, clients with national presence, how they operate in one state is very different to how they operate in the other. So we came across this principle about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's called the Ready, Aim, Fire principle. And I call it firing into action and getting momentum. And momentum in our mind is the key, and not procrastinating. And what it basically speaks to is effective. I might use this diagram to best explain it. And I think there's I might use the example of Apple. Apple, at the end of the day, is one organisation I think has openly admitted that they've got a product to a level where they can take it to market, but it's not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And they'll probably sue me for saying that. So you might want to delete that part of this presentation. Feel free to do that, ladies. But ultimately, I guess what it means, and we've seen this over and over again, not only within our experience, but also our clients, where
Anthony.
Yep.
I'm sorry to cut you short. I could listen to you for hours. People are starting to need to go. So
all right, good.
Am I wrapping it up? Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. I'll finish by saying take action. Don't procrastinate, just take action. That was the last slide. So thank you, Rosa. Thank you for the opportunity.
I could listen to you for hours. I love all your information.
Thank you. Thank you very much.